I have a very special guest with me on the podcast today. In fact, I've got quite a few guests with me today on the podcast. And you'll also be able to see this on YouTube as well, because it will be available on video. But I have one of my most incredible VSA graduates on here. Her name is Leah Bornstein, and she is a dog trainer. She founded Born to be Dog Training, and she is here with the wonderful Neika Smessaert, which I never know if I pronounce your last name correctly. Yeah, I do. Okay, okay. And then on it, we also have Katie Fusilier, which sounds like a very French name, but I don't know again if I've pronounced it right, who is the interpreter. So Leah is from the deaf community, and she is a dog trainer, and she is going to give us insight into what her life is like, and also how she became a dog trainer and the kind of things that she practices as a dog trainer, and helping out especially everybody, but especially the deaf community. So I want to say welcome, Leah. I'm really glad that you are here.
I'm really honored and very humbled to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
And then also, Neika, we spoke about a month ago, and we did a great podcast together where we talked about, obviously, the book that you guys have done together, the Puppy Progress Planner, which is brought to you by Born to be Dog Training and the Vet Tech Coach. I absolutely love this. This is the brainchild of you both, and I do want to talk about this a little bit more, but welcome, Neika.
Thank you so much for having us back. I'm super excited to talk about our relationship and Leah being the first deaf student of VSA and excelling beyond my wildest dreams for sure.
So, I want to start off this journey, Leah, by asking you, how did you, or what made you want to become a dog trainer?
I've always loved dogs since I was a little kid. I remember my older sister and I, we used to walk to the elementary school together, and we were going down the street. There was this big, I want to say is Saint Bernard. Maybe I mean I was very young. I was maybe 7, but this dog was huge. And I remember I loved this dog. She just comes running up to you. Never met this dog in my life. Comes running up to me, and I was like, "Puppy!" And my sister's terrified and running across the street. So ever since I was a kid, I've always loved dogs. And then I ended up actually watching your show. It's Me or the Dog. And I fell madly in love. And I was like, this is it. This is what I was meant to do. I'm really honored to be here because you were kind of my inspiration behind pursuing this career path.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I'm really honored that you watched the show. I'm sure that you've sort of seen it in very, like, there's definitely been a progression throughout the first, when the show first started, to what it's like now in terms of the methods and techniques used. But I'm really honored that, that you were able to watch the show and go, that's what I want to do. And when I first started filming It's Me or the Dog, I did so because I wanted to educate people about dog training and how you could teach effectively without using harsh methods. But I also wanted to influence people before there were influencers. I wanted to influence people so that they would be able to go, I can do that with my dog. Or I want to do that. I want to do this and grow this dog training industry. Because when I was in Manhattan, and that was around 2000, there really weren't a lot of dog trainers. There were some dog training classes, there were some well-known people, but there weren't a lot of jobbing dog trainers that would go into people's homes. And it's a real different deal when you're living in a city like New York and you're doing, like I would do, like 3 to 4 consults a day. and going into different apartments, because obviously most people live in apartments there. And it was this, I found that I absolutely loved doing it. And I wanted to share what I did so more people could do what I did. And that's why it makes me feel really, you know, thank you for saying that about watching the show and how it influenced you.
It's an amazing thing that you accomplished because before your show, I mean, really, Cesar Millan was the only one that I had access to on TV. He was the main entertainment giant when it came to dog training. So when I watched your show, it was just a mind shift. It was just a mindset shift, you know? Uh, I don't know. It just touched me in a way. And then I was thrilled. Like, you offer VSA? What? I can learn from you? What? Yeah, that was it. I think it's an amazing path that you've carved for dog trainers like myself who don't necessarily adhere to those aversive techniques. And we can follow a more positive way. I think you're a great role model for that.
Thank you. Well, interesting. Cesar Millan and I started at the same time. Our shows hit at the same time, almost exactly the same time. My show hit in 2005 in the UK, and his show hit here in the US in 2005 too. It's just that Animal Planet didn't air the British shows until 2007. So, as far as I understood, when we started filming, it was, it's only going to be in England. I had no idea that Animal Planet was going to pick up the British shows, air them, and then because they did so well, make an American version. So that's kind of why, because I didn't know who Caesar was. And then I found out who he was, and I was like, oh, great, here's another trainer out there, like giving great information. But then when I watched, I was like, oh man, maybe that's not the information we need to be giving. Anyway, moving on from that. First of all, I'm glad that you were a dog trainer, but I do want to acknowledge Katie here, who is, and I want to talk about the deaf community and what's actually happening here on the screen so that people that are just listening on the podcast can kind of visualize it as well if they don't watch the YouTube channel. What's happening here is that Katie is performing SimCom. So, Katie, can you tell us exactly how you're doing it? Because this isn't ASL per se, is it?
This is Katie now speaking. So I'm actually, well, right now I'm doing SimCom because I'm speaking and signing at the same time. But when I'm interpreting, I am doing ASL, or to the to the best of my ability, I'm doing ASL.
And where did you learn to do this?
I learned it in high school. I took it as my foreign language, and then I went to college, and then I became an interpreter with my BA, and then I got certified with the National, Committee of Interpreters. I got certified, and now I just work as an interpreter, and luckily, I get to interpret jobs like this sometimes.
Fantastic. So when you are signing to Leah, you're using ASL. And SimCom, though, is just when I'm speaking, and that's when you're using SimCom?
Sort of. So SimCom, that's just so that everyone can have access at the same time with English and sign. Because if I'm just signing with my voice off, then the hearing people don't know what's going on. And then if I just use my voice and not sign, then the deaf people don't know what's going on.
Got it.
But SimCom, if Leah would like to elaborate more, it's not a full English and it's not fully ASL.
Okay, yeah, Leah, can you tell us from your point of view?
Yes, so SIMCOM stands for simultaneous communication. And I'm actually a certified ASL teacher. I've been a K through 12 teacher for 12 years, if you can believe it, before I shifted to dog training. And ASL is its own unique, beautiful language. So SimCom is when you're speaking and signing at the same time, but it's not ASL. It's signed English. So ASL is its own language, has its own grammar, has its own rules for how to use it. There's a whole culture surrounding it within the deaf community. It's its own beautiful thing. And then SimCom is basically just for really basic access. We usually don't recommend SimComming when you're communicating unless you're doing it specifically for access purposes. Like what I'm doing right now is I'm speaking and signing at the same time, and what Katie is doing when she does that as well. When she's interpreting for me, she's taking English and she's translating it into another language of ASL, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does make sense. Okay, okay. Thank you so much for that. I just wanted to be clear because there's a lot of us that are just learning for the first time what this is. So I just want to make sure that the listeners and the viewers understand what they're seeing, because I think I find it absolutely fascinating. I feel like we should all be exposed to this. I feel like we should all be taught it. We are just not. We see SimCom happening a lot when the government or something, or there is a important maybe press conferences or something. But us in the hearing community, we are not exposed to this a lot. So I think it's really important that we become educated. So Neika, tell me from your point of view, how did you get into this? And then how did you and Leah meet?
So I'm hard of hearing, and I have been since I think 12, maybe. It was a school test. I pretty well instantly knew I failed because I could maybe hear the beep, and I'm like, beep, beep, I don't know, beep. So at that time, the audiologist or ENT doctor, I can't remember, said that I'd be deaf by the time I was 18. But no exposure to ASL, no exposure to the deaf community. It was, hearing aids. So fast forward throughout my life, I had tried to learn just the alphabet, the ABCs, and tried, well, COVID happened. And I said, what better time? So I started learning through what I now call club learning. So I was paying, and they were deaf instructors, deaf teachers, but no tests to see how much I was understanding or what my signing skills really were. So when you guys had reached out that there was a deaf applicant, does anyone know ASL? I'm like, oh, I know ASL. So I was just brave and tried, and we met, and Leah was always very kind and really helped me learn even more about interpreters. Sometimes at first I would talk to the interpreters because I wanted to try to just be nice. And they're human beings in this virtual room with us, right? So I did learn along the way things. And honestly, it took a lot. I think Leah learned to trust me, that I was really, really trying hard, even if I wasn't really that good. I was really trying hard. And then I asked her, like, I want to learn more. I want to learn like real. And so then she helped me find Gallaudet. And I took classes at Gallaudet for 2 years, maybe? I don't know, a year, maybe? I don't know if I got through all that in a year or two. I can't remember.
So you guys met because, okay, Leah, you came to VSA and it wasn't, we'd been going for quite a while at that point, but you started to talk to us about more accessibility. Can you take me through that?
Yes, absolutely. So I believe I came in as a student in 2021, I believe, and then I graduated in 2022. And initially, I reached out because I really wanted to learn from VSA. There are a lot of different great programs out there. But like I mentioned, you were my idol, and my motivation to become a dog trainer was a lot because I was watching you and everything that you did. So I really wanted to learn from VSA. So I ended up reaching out and I was asking about what accessibility options were available. And I know we struggled a little bit in the beginning, but I mean, your team worked with me really, really well. We were able to work out an amazing thing. And then Neika kind of came into the picture. And I mean, obviously, it's been how many years? And connecting with Neika was one of the most amazing relationships that I was able to build through VSA. Became not only a colleague, but also a really good friend. And we built amazing things together since my time at VSA. So in the beginning, when I was reaching out, I have to admit, I don't normally use my voice. It's a very personal choice for a deaf person to use their voice because there's, as you mentioned, there's not a lot of exposure to deaf people and language. So I'm always a little bit hesitant to use my voice with new people. And throughout my time in the program, I prefer ASL as my language. So when Neika and I were working together, sometimes I would voice if I remember correctly, but for the most part, we had ASL interpreters. And Neika was amazing because dog training from a deaf perspective, doing things from a deaf perspective, Neika was amazing at helping me learn how to accommodate that so that I was still serving the client and the dog and also being able to perform properly as a dog trainer. So that was a great experience. Neika was life-changing, an amazing mentor and role model for me as well.
I'm so glad. It just felt like you guys had to meet. You had to work together. So I'm so glad that, we could. And we learned a lot because I think when you first came to us, we were like, we don't know how we're going to do this. We don't know if we have anybody that will be able to work with Leah. And then it just all kind of fell into place. And then it became that this is like, why? Why didn't we as hearing people, why weren't we able to offer accommodations really early on? Why didn't we think about that? And I think it's not because, well, I think there's a certain amount of ignorance, but I also think that because of overwhelm of running a course anyway, that it just was like, we got to try and just keep up with what we're doing. But you really opened our eyes. I think that's what I want to make clear here. You opened our eyes, and actually, we all got really excited, this possibility that we could open up VSA. And of course, we want to be as inclusive as possible and open up to everyone. But there was this, I know that there are some questions that I want to ask you in terms of we had talked about this, the overall, this discussion of ability, right? And if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it'll spend its whole life believing it's stupid, you wrote. We'll focus, so talk about that the fact that, you have just as much ability as anybody else. It's just you do it in a bit of a different way. Can you tell me about that? Because this is an ability, isn't it? It should not be seen as a disability.
Yeah, so I actually really love that quote. I cannot take credit for writing that or coming up with that. I don't remember exactly who, but I remember seeing that quote a long time ago and it just stuck. I love the idea of it. Everybody comes to us, even whether you're hearing, you're deaf, you're blind, whether, you have one leg, you have three legs, whatever, you come to us as authentically yourself. And we all experience life differently. We all come with our own unique perspectives, our own unique experiences that form our thoughts, that form our behaviors, our emotions. So ability is really no different, right? It's just a different way of life that we're not necessarily used to. So someone who lives in Africa, it might not experience life the same way that we experience it, here in America or the UK or Scotland. So everybody comes to us with these amazing things that make them uniquely themselves. And one of the most amazing things about being human is learning about them about how life is experienced in different ways. That's what makes life so rich, so so deep. It's what gives us purpose and enrichment and just opportunity to learn and be curious about what's out there, right? So it's just different, you know. I do know that when you thank you, Katie, reminding me to sign. This is why I'm not good at simcomming. Um, for example, when I was going through your course, there was no subtitles at the time. So I worked with your team and I used live transcribe on Chrome, which thankfully they had that feature, and it wasn't always 100% accurate. There's a difference between closed captioning and subtitles. But your team was very willing to help. Neika was there, so if I needed clarification on something, I would email or reach out to her. You had an amazing team member. If the transcript was missing, I would reach out to her and she would send me a transcript very quickly, very quickly. So you guys helped me experience your course in the best possible way at that time. And I have been amazed to see how much VSA has grown within that time. I know you've had more deaf students. You've been working with them. You've been providing ASL as faculty advisors. Neika has been signing and she's been working to support those deaf students as well. I'm seeing on your social media that you're adding captioning a lot more. I was really, really sad before there was no captioning, so I couldn't follow along. Now I watch all of your stuff. I get a notification that comes up, I'm like, yes! Neika too started adding captioning to all of her videos. So that's one of the things about dog training for the deaf world. There's not a lot of accessibility out there, not even just related with becoming a dog trainer, but just access in general to the quality stuff, because there's no captioning, there's no ASL interpretation. Some deaf people don't fluently speak English and they need ASL. So it's amazing to see VSA kind of paving the way and making sure that their content is more inclusive and accessible. And I can't say enough how grateful I am to have graduated from VSA. And I'm actually proud to be a part of the community because I see how much you're working to make it more inclusive for everybody else out there. So yes, back to that quote, you know, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, of course it can. Fishes don't climb trees, right? Fishes swim. Monkeys climb trees. So we have to meet people where they're at and we can accommodate them without it being necessarily overcomplicated. It's about being humble and curious, you know, learning about the best way to support them if they need it. And every deaf person is different. Right. So some deaf people, they speak very well. Some deaf people prefer sign only. Some prefer to use speech to text on their phone. Some prefer to have an ASL interpreter. There is no one way to accommodate one person, right? So it's about being curious and meeting them where they're at. And the same goes for our dogs too, right? What we do for dog training, we got to do for people as well.
So what do you think your ability does for the way that you communicate and work with dogs?
I think I just do it differently than some people do. So I wouldn't say it makes me a better or worse dog trainer. You know, I'm visual. I pay very close attention to the dogs and the body language. And then I also loop in my clients because part of dog training is also human training, right? Teaching the human how to read and understand the dog and their needs. So often I loop them in and I say, hey, so you tell me what you hear, tell me what you see. And then we talk about that and it becomes a great conversation. So I might just do it differently than other people do, but it does not impact my ability to be and serve my clients. I also interact with them maybe a little bit differently than a hearing trainer would. I don't have an interpreter following me around. You know, who can afford that? But I do use speech to text on my phone. And I do use my voice with some clients. So, you know, it's just about accommodation. And if they have concerns, I bring them up. But I just do it a little bit differently. It's not better or worse, you know?
So, but what I'm saying, what you said there, the fact that you are even more in tune to, potentially, but I think you probably are, to a dog's body language, because you're really watching, you're really observing, which is tough sometimes for us because we're so surrounded by noise, we're so surrounded by stuff that sometimes I find it personally difficult to like zero all the noise out and zero into what the dog is actually doing. So I would say that that is a potential plus for you, that you are able to really observe without a lot of distraction.
Oh, that's a great perspective. I think we in the deaf community, we don't call that loss weight. We call it deaf gain. Deaf gain. I don't know the sign for that, but it's called deaf gain, I believe.
Yeah. No, I don't think that it's a loss at all. I think that is a huge gain. And I think that that trainers could benefit from being able to just zero everything out to focus on body language, because body language is essential. It's the way that dogs are communicating to us. And because those of us in the hearing community, we might be really distracted by the noise around us. I think sometimes that inhibits our ability to read dogs effectively. I think that that is our disability sometimes. Do you see what
That's
I
very
mean?
interesting. I like learning the hearing way too. That's very interesting for me to learn as well.
Yeah, and then maybe I'm just saying it from my perspective because I do get it's interesting because after I had so here's a story. I went to South Korea and I was assisting on the closure of a dog meat farm, which might be something that is, you don't often hear about. But, and I picked up an uncomfortable disease that I needed antibiotics for. And what happened with me is after I took the antibiotics, I suddenly noticed a big ringing in my ears. So I went to the audiologist and I had tests done. We don't know why it caused the ringing in the ears, but it also made me really sensitive to sounds, ambient sound, and really sensitive to certain colors, including the color bright blue. So if, for example, you're looking at the television and you wanted to go on the app Max, when Max first opens, they've changed the color now because I think people like me were having a really difficult time looking at it. But it would come up with the Max symbol and this massive just thing of blue, like electric blue. And immediately it would cause my eyes to hurt and the front of my head to almost feel like I had an instant throbbing headache. So whenever Max came on, I'd have to close my eyes. So the reason why I'm saying this, now they've changed the color to gray, which is amazing. And I'm so thankful of that because I love the West Wing on Max, right? So that's my thing. But from then on, I've had difficulty tuning out ambient noise and focusing on the thing that I want to focus on, which is just the dog or just the person and the person's interaction with the dog. So that's why I say that that is my disability. And the fact of being able to focus, I think, is a great ability that I now struggle with. So Neika, I don't know from your perspective what that has been like to you to be slightly hard of hearing. Has that sort of heightened your other senses, made things a bit more overwhelming?
Well, first, I was thinking about what you said, and I was thinking back to the dog, the body language handouts that a lot of us have, the sort of infographic, and they're all, except maybe whining, there's no sound with them. If you think about it, I don't think any of them, except maybe whining, have sound. But to your next question, I find that wearing my hearing aid, although it probably helps people be able to communicate with me better, I'm very distracted when I wear them. It makes everything so loud, and things that I don't normally hear, I start hearing and then moving and looking to see what is that. And I've also noticed, and this was a little bit with Leah, she kind of helped me see some things that I didn't have language for, but my kids did interpret for me. It just came natural. I would say, lean to them, like, what? And they would like whisper what that person said. I'm like, oh, ha ha ha, funny, funny. Well, when when Nora left for the Navy, I just had Brock, and Brock was an introvert, and something happened, and he and I were just walking away, and he said, Mom, why didn't you answer him? And I'm like, what? And he's like, well, he asked you, and you just turned and walked away. And I'm like, Brock, you have to tell me. I didn't hear that at all. And so now I'm like nervous that this person back there thinks I'm like rude. Like, and it was already done. Like, I couldn't go back and say, I'm sorry. We were already walking away. So those are some things that I've now learned that sort of happen naturally. The accommodations that you make for yourself start to happen organically.
We have to know our learner. We have to know our learner, and sometimes it might take a while to understand both our human learner and our canine learner. And that is across the board. Sometimes I might have a client and I'll think one thing of them, and then once I get to know them a bit more, that will completely change. Or I might give a client something that for them to do and realize, wait a second, that was too difficult for them, or that was too simple for them. So now I can go and make it a little bit more complex, whether it's with my human or my dog client. So I think that, again, is something else that is really important for all dog trainers to learn or to understand, is how we can be most effective for the learner that we have in front of us. Okay, you have an online course. Can you tell me about that, which is ASL accessible?
Yes, I'm really excited about this because it was my goal when I founded my company. There's just a lack of available positive reinforcement accessible resources out there. If you get on TikTok or Instagram or really any social media site and you scroll, a deaf person doesn't really have an option about what pops up on their screen, right? So I realized it would be really amazing to be able to offer science-based content in an accessible language. And Neika was actually part of that course as well. She led some really great lessons. So the course is in ASL because, like I mentioned at the beginning, ASL and English are different languages. So I wanted something that is accessible to deaf people, but it's also accessible to hearing people because there's closed captioning, there's voiceover. The content is not based on the client or the dog being deaf. The content itself is science-based, right? It's everything I took and that I learned from VSA. It's my experiences that I've learned through my continuing education. It's through my experience with my clients. It's all of that, right? But it's accessible to everyone. And it's in a deaf person's primary language of ASL. So I'm really excited that I'm able to offer that. It includes 8 different modules, depending on the topic that they're interested in learning about. Puppyhood, reactivity, enrichment, all of these different topics, right? And then there's also a masterclass, which incorporates every single one of those modules into one comprehensive course so that they can learn everything they need to support their dog as best as they can. In Neika's videos, she does speak, and then I interpret in the corner in a bubble so that they still have access to ASL as a language. So it's meant to be all inclusive.
That's amazing. And then, of course, this is the Puppy Progress Planner, which I love. So, Neika, I know we spoke about this before, but for those people that haven't listened to the podcast we did, can you tell people, because this is so great. I love it. I love it. And for people who may be slightly disorganized, which is what I am, it's brilliant to actually help you really think and really be organized
Yeah.
and gives you goals and such great information and such a fabulous resource. Okay.
Yeah, so I sort of made that back in during COVID when I was getting a puppy from Rover Chase, and I wanted her to grow up and learn a little differently than I had done things in the past, maybe. So I started going to all the experts, looking for what their recommendations were for, the 100 people in 100 days, enrichment and all the things, right? And, when we get a new puppy in the very beginning, we're all like, yay, we're doing all the things. And then it goes downhill pretty quickly. Plus, the family isn't always involved as much as we hope. So this was designed as 12 weeks to really be more of a supplemental accountability. It's a planner, not a all-inclusive learn everything about puppies here, but as a supplement to anybody's puppy class, really. Like I can't think of anything that would be in that book that a positive reinforcement trainer wouldn't say or wouldn't supplement their course or whatever they teach well. It would supplement it well. And for some people, I think the accountability is just helpful. Just to say, okay, the box is checked. We're good. Okay, good. This week we hit all our goals. And back to what Leah said, there's enrichment in there. There's what we call life skills, obedience, of course. Everybody wants the obedience stuff. Leah, what else? What am I missing? I'm missing something.
Foundational skills,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
the life skills. I don't really refer to it as obedience. I don't really like the term. I know it's very commonly spread. So we decided to reframe it as foundational skills. So there's foundational skills for dogs because it's all about the skills that they need to learn to be able to coexist in our human world, right? There's life skills, enrichment, and then, oh my gosh, Nika, what was the fourth category?
I'm going to look.
Looking in here. It's okay. I did a podcast yesterday, and both of us had no idea. We had worked with people, we had no idea what their names were. So,
It's socialization, of course.
of course, very important. We'll just forget that one, shall we?
The whole kind of reason why I developed.
Oh, goodness.
But people, places, objects, substrates, textures. We really kind of try to incorporate all those things, and maybe some things that other trainers hadn't really gotten a chance to say to their puppy, class participants. And if they're going through this book, like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. So
Fantastic. Okay. So, Leah, first of all, what does positive training or positive reinforcement training mean to you? And what are the kind of cases that you like?
Okay, so for me, positive reinforcement is actually a value system. Gosh, that's such a deep question. I'm trying to figure out how to express it in a shorter way.
We got time. We've got time. No, I'm sorry, I just kind of like pounced, but I think it's important.
That's a great question. For me, the foundation, it means so many things to me. But the foundation for me is recognizing that the animal in front of us is a sentient being.
100%.
That's as simple as I can put it, right? If you wouldn't use fear or punishment to coerce a child to obey you, why would you do that to a dog? And again, there's so many different techniques and styles out there, to each their own. But for me, it's a value system. So it's about having a relationship centered bond with this dog that's in front of you, with this animal that's in front of you, whether it's a dog, a horse, a cat, right? It's positive reinforcement, even a person. Even a person. It's about having a relationship centered bond built on trust, not based on fear or punishment or obedience, if you think of yourself, I just try and put myself in the animal's position, right? If I think of myself, am I going to respond better when I feel safe, when I have a choice to participate, or when I feel fearful and I feel like I have no agency in the situation, right? So for me, it's definitely a value system. I also, one thing that's so hard for me is animals, what options do they really have, right? Our lives as humans is very enriching. We go out with friends, we travel the world, we have different food, we eat different meals, we have different friends in our lives, we go out and we see shows and movies. And our dogs' lives are really dependent on us to be able to provide the thing that they need. So it's our responsibility to them to treat them like the beings that they really are, not have them fit into whatever aspects we have in our life that fill our lives, right? It's supposed to be a balance. So it's not even just about the training techniques that we use, which is part of it, but it's just about seeing the animal that's in front of you and treating them with respect. That's my
What
perception on positive reinforcement.
I love that. Thank you. And what kind of are your favorite cases? What sort of dogs do you, or what kind of dogs do you really like working with?
Oh, I have absolutely no preference. I love them all. I love them all. I'm fear-free certified, so I also love all of the cases where you bring the dog and you do happy visits at the vet. I finished I apologize if I'm not pronouncing his name right. Michael
Picascio.
Shikashio.
Yeah,
Did I say
yeah.
that right? Whew. I did take and I completed his course on aggression for dogs. So I really have taken on variety of cases, and I love them all. I don't really have a favorite. I've taken on puppy cases where I have a 10-week-old that I'm helping them build the confidence in that dog. I've taken on fearful cases where the dog is so fearful that they can't even go outside on a walk. I love them all. It's the experience of helping a family and a dog create a bond where they can both function and live in peace. That's the best thing. It's what dog training is about, right? I mean, for me. So I love all the cases. I don't really have a favorite.
And Neika.
I just want to add that Leah also has a horse and she has, I think, 3 cats. But I have watched her over 3 years, maybe, work with her horse, who was, I believe, a fearful horse, and work through some of the fears that that horse has. And I can say from just my personal experience that working beyond just the dog species is super helpful for all of us, like to, kids, yes, but, horses and cats and, of course, like the zoo animal world. And that really can make the world bigger. And you see a much bigger picture than just training, sit down and stay.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I agree with you. And I love what you say, Leah, because I do feel like this our industry, even though it has many faults, our job working with these animals, I wouldn't want to do anything else. And I feel very blessed to be doing it. And I feel very honored. I go into, when I meet dogs or when I'm working with different cases, I'm very honored when the dog starts to trust me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they are sentient beings and we have to really respect that. My last question to you is, how can we increase accessibility in the dog training industry? How can we do better?
That's a great question. I do want to add one more thing to what you were saying. It is about the animal that's in front of us, and it's also people oriented too, because people come to us as well. By the time my clients come to us for help, they're already emotional, they're frustrated. Often the relationship with the dog is fractured
Yeah.
at this point. So we have to look at the person in front of us to respect the experience that they're bringing and their emotional state as well. So it's really all inclusive of all of that, right? It's a really big picture of working with the human and the dog. And families too, sometimes a dog comes between, partners, or the kid hates the dog and the parents love the dog, and there's just a lot of dynamics that factor into it to make sure that everyone feels like they're getting the most out of the training and that everyone is really experiencing life in a way that adds to their life rather than detracts from it, right? About accessibility, that's a great question. I wish I had an answer for everybody, right? There's so many different abilities that are out there. I think I can tell you my opinion on what the first step would be, and it's asking that person how to make sure they have the most beneficial experience. What do they need? And being able to accommodate their needs, because not everyone needs the same things. So that's the first step. There are general features of accessibility that should be included so that people don't have to ask because they're readily available. And then it's not even about accessibility because everybody has access, period, right? I'm not sure if you guys heard of Martha's Vineyard. Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
Right. So a long time ago, it was a city in Maryland, and I mean it's still there, but it's no longer what it used to be. But it was deaf. Everybody on that island signed. Period. Whether they were hearing or they were deaf, everybody signed. Everybody did. Right. So it wasn't even about using sign because that person was deaf or accommodating that person. It was an inclusive environment. Period. So my two suggestions would be, one, what can you do to make sure that it doesn't need to be a request?
Got it.
Right? And then my second one is asking that person, how can I better support you? What do you need? And then accommodating them from there, whether it's related to disability or not. Sometimes it's emotional support, right? Those are my two suggestions. Neika, do you have any suggestions as well? Because you're amazing at this kind of stuff.
Well, I do have one thing to say, but I learned this from APDT. It was Sarah McLeodry. I don't know how to spell her name.
Yes, Sarah McLeodry, yes.
She has just some great things to say. Number one was on your intake form, having some check boxes for possible accommodations. Do you need a seat for class, right? So they're not having to ask, they just get to check a box. Do you need close proximity to a bathroom? Do you need, 30-minute sessions instead of, 60? Whatever that looks like, right? So whatever that would be on your form, but having those already there. And I had a client recently who I email a packet each week for puppy class. When she would blow it up because she did have some vision impairment, she was a little bit older. But it was blurry.
Yeah.
And she asked me once, and I thought I had fixed it. And so I asked her, hey, how did that look last week? Did I fix that? And she said, no, it's okay. It's okay. It's fine. It's fine. And I'm like, no, 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 no. It's really important to me that you don't have to ask, and the next person that's coming doesn't have to ask to be able to read something properly. When it was blown up, it just got super distorted. So she helped me fix it, right? So I would send it to her. What's this one look like? Because of course on my end, I'm not seeing how she sees it through her phone or whatever. So she did help me being open to getting it wrong. And it's not, I didn't look at it as a personal failing on my part. But in the last, I would say 3 years since I really met Leah and learned how she moves through the world, I've learned like, oh, I don't really care if I fall down. I don't care. I will apologize and fix it for the next time. So.
Yeah, Leah.
I think what Neika said is beautiful. It's really hard when you're constantly asking for access in so many areas of your life as somebody who's deaf or blind or anything. It's exhausting. It's really exhausting. And then you've built up a lifetime of asking and asking and asking and getting rejected, or being told that your request is just going to cause me hardship, right? So it becomes trauma a little bit, right? So being mindful, as Neika said, just doing your research in advance, being humble. No one is perfect. No one is perfect. I'm a deaf dog trainer. I still mess up, even with my own deaf clients. Who can expect anyone to be perfect, right? It's about being mindful. It starts within, and it's about leading from within, right? Recognizing where you can do better, being authentically apologetic if necessary, and not even just saying the words "I'm sorry" or "I can't," or it's about honestly assessing what can be done differently and then acting on it. I think that's the most powerful thing that you can do. It's about leading, right? Demonstrating, modeling how it should be. You model that's the way that it should be, right? You live and you embody the way that you live, I guess, if that makes sense.
Um, you know, I feel like VSA is better because of you, Leah. And we all learn. I think you are right in that we're going to fall down sometimes. We are not going to be perfect. And we learn. And we learn to be, all of us need to be more mindful. And all of us need to have more empathy, I think. But it's not even about that in many ways. I think sometimes we need to get away from ourselves and start thinking more about everybody on this planet. Whether that's human, whether that's canine or animal. And I feel like the dog training industry is going through a real time right now. A real time, as well as we are in politics, a real time where everyone is assessing how they want to move through the world and how they can be better. I know there's a lot of people that don't care, but I think there are a lot of people that work with animals and do it the right way, that they care. And sometimes they are going to have to be taught. Sometimes they don't know the right questions to ask. Sometimes they might feel less than because they don't know how to ask. And sometimes they might feel like, well, I should have known, but I didn't. I didn't put the time in to know. So this is why I think VSA is better because of you. And because of what you bring to us is so rich, and what you bring to the deaf community and people who want to train dogs in the deaf community, but also what you bring to the community at large. That's what's exciting about this. Not just putting you in a box, putting you in a category, but just you now have that ability to reach everybody because of your courage of saying, hey, this is what you need to improve. And I think that learning for us has been an amazing journey.
Thank you for saying that. That's beautiful. And honestly, it's a two-way street, right? There's only so much that I can do. I can say, hey, this needs to be changed, or this needs to be updated, or we need to do this better. But if someone is closed to the idea of doing that, how far are you really going to get? So you have to really give yourself props as well, because it's a two-way street. It takes two people to speak and to listen, and vice versa, right? So I'm appreciated for everything that you're willing to hear from us. You know, VSA has it's changed my life. You guys have changed my life as much as I've hopefully changed yours.
You really have. And I'm so pleased now that everybody that you will be able to take this course. So I would definitely check out the Born to Be online course. And also, I would definitely get this. I think this is available on Amazon, isn't it, Neika? Yeah, it is. So, because it's just so fabulous. And I'm a very visual person. So this ticks all the boxes for me. It really does. And thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, Leah, if people want to contact you, learn from you, they want to take dog training classes or whatever, where would they go?
They can go to my website, www.borntobedogtraining.com. That's where the online course is. I do offer free consultations. I've talked directly with people who have been interested in pursuing the career of being a dog trainer. So it's not just even about dog training itself, but if they need any guidance in any areas, if you're deaf yourself and if you want to figure out how to navigate this industry, I'm always happy to offer the internship. And I also recommend they contact Neika as well because she's amazing. She's amazing with dog training and deaf people. She has the most beautiful heart. So, and VSA, also a great resource. But
Thank
yes,
you.
they can reach out to me on my website.
Perfect. And Neika, where people want to contact you, where would they go?
Yep, the website's bestvettechcoach.com.
Amazing. Katie, I want to say thank you so much for signing for us today. Really, really appreciate it. And for all of you to spend some time talking to us, educating us, and being the amazing people you are. And thank you for all the work that you do with dogs, for dogs and for people, making their lives better. Well, that's it, guys. If you're just listening on the podcast, you know, it's all about changing lives, isn't it? And we can all together change lives for dogs and the people that love them. This is why we're here, and this is what we do. So you take care of yourselves, and for everybody watching on YouTube, you take care, and I'll see you on another podcast.